Say, kids, what time is it?
It's story time!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series. Oh, there you are. I can never remember where the camera is. So welcome to a big experiment that I'm doing. So as you can see right here, Herobrine Rises, which is my #1 Amazon best-selling novel, they no longer are available as of last October. October 2014, the books were no longer available, and the entire series had to be pulled. And so now it's been almost a year, and I finally got everything settled so that I can try a grand experiment. I'm going to go ahead and, for everyone who only got a few of them and haven't been able to get the rest of the story, I'm going to read them to you for free here on YouTube. So this is going to be a big experiment. It's free to you. The only thing I'm going to ask for is thumbs up. And so for the first few here for book 1 of Herobrine's Quest, Herobrine Rises, I'm only going to ask for 1 thumb up before I post the next one. So as soon as I get a thumbs up, I'll post the next one after that. And then starting with the next book, I'll ask for 10 thumbs up before I post the next one. So we'll keep increasing it and pushing it and seeing how far we can take this. And if we get all the way through book 11, which was I believe the last book that was actually written, if I can get enough thumbs up, I'll write the remaining 4 books in the series and we'll finish it out and do all 15 books here. So this is a great experiment. The internet's all about experimenting and trying new things. So as me as old dog and new tricks, well, let's try a new trick for this old dog. So let's go ahead and let's get started here, and we will read starting with Herobrine Rises. And all I'm asking for is 1 tiny little thumbs up, and I'll post the next one as we go along. So here we go. Herobrine Rises. In a small, dark room with no windows, a man hunched over his cluttered workstation. Papers were scattered all over the surface of the desk, and he had to dig through them to find the keyboard. He sat down and turned on the monitor. As the display warmed up, a bright green typing arrow faded into view in the bottom corner of the screen. The man scraped his hand across his scraggly beard and typed into the screen on his computer. "How are you doing today?" The display beeped, and words formed on the screen as someone responded. "When can I have someone to play with?" The man sighed and typed again. "I'm sorry, but you know why you must be alone right now." The computer beeped as the reply came across the screen. "I'm doing better." "I'm sure you are, but I have to be sure you can't hurt anyone." "I promise I won't. I believe you, but there are some things I have to do to make sure." "Can I have a pickaxe?" "Once I make some changes to the environment, I will see what I can do." "Can I at least have some wood now?" The man sat perfectly still with his hands hovering over the keyboard. He didn't know how to tell his friend that he would never be allowed access to any materials ever again. The computer beeped as more text appeared on the screen. "Are you still there?" The man began typing again. "I have to go." "Please stay." "I can't." "I'm lonely." The man blinked away the tears that formed in the corner of his eyes. "I promise to come back again tomorrow." "Will you bring me some wood?" "I'll see what I can do." As the man reached forward to shut off the computer monitor, he saw his friend's final words appear on the screen right before it went dark. "Thank you, Notch." Sitting at his desk in the last class of the day, Jason's heart thumped loudly as Ms. Watkins approached Susie and demanded the folded piece of paper in her hand before she could pass it to the next student. Susie looked around her, unsure of what to do as Ms. Watkins held her hand out. "The note, please, Susie." Susie's face turned bright red as she handed Ms. Watkins the note. Ms. Watkins unfolded the paper and read it. She looked over at Josh and shook her head disapprovingly before going back to her desk. Josh spent the rest of the class period looking intently at his history book, but not reading any of it. Finally, the school bell rang and kids jumped from their desks, collected their backpacks, and rushed for the door. Josh tried ducking down into the crowd to blend in with the other kids as he rushed past Ms. Watkins, but she saw him anyway. "Wait a minute, Joshua," she said. "I would like to speak with you." His shoulders dropped and his backpack slid down into the crook of his elbow. As soon as all the other kids had left the room, she opened a drawer and removed the note she had taken from Susie. She smiled as she unfolded it and showed it to him. "I knew this note had to come from you, as you are my resident artist, and either you are entering your cubist phase, or you drew what I can only guess is my face onto a square green monster with no arms." "It's a creeper," he said, and immediately regretted opening his mouth. Her eyebrows shot up in surprise. "A creeper? I see." That wasn't the best thing to say at that exact moment. He had to think of something else to say to his 5th grade teacher to get out of trouble, or at least to get in as little as trouble as possible. "It's not your face. It's my brother's." She held the crude drawing next to her own face. "So this is not supposed to be me?" He shook his head. No, it's my brother." She folded the paper up again and placed it back in the drawer. "And what would Andre have thought of this if he had received your latest artistic endeavor?" His mouth went dry. He really needed a drink of water right now. He would have thought it was funny. She looked at him over the top of her glasses. "And do you think it's funny to disrupt everyone else during class?" "No, Ms. Watkins." She smiled. "Good. You may go." He ran from the room before she could change her mind. Out in the hallway, Andre, Josh's twin brother, was leaning against the wall waiting for Josh to come out of the room. As soon as he saw Josh, he pushed away from the wall and walked over to him. "I told you, if you keep passing notes in class, you're going to get caught." Josh laughed. "I told her it was a picture of you." Andre punched him in the arm. "Ow!" Josh rubbed at the spot. "Mom said no more hitting." "Mom's not here," Andre smiled. "Besides, Craft Killer 99 texted me the IP address of a server that is supposed to have Herobrine in it." Josh shook his head. "Can't we do something else? I'm tired of you looking for something that isn't real." Andre gripped Josh's shoulders. "Craft Killer said he got the server address from a friend who works at Mojang. Herobrine is real, and this time we found him." Josh and Andre sat on the curb at the front of the school and watched as the last of the other kids went home. They both had their heads down and were playing Minecraft on their phones. They were so engrossed in their games, they didn't notice the white Lexus SUV pull up next to them. They both jumped when the car's horn honked loudly. The driver leaned out. "Come on, guys. I have to get back to work." Andre stirred first. "I thought Mom was picking us up today." Their dad hit the unlock button for the doors. "She's with a client and called me to come get you." Josh followed Andre into the back of the SUV. "Can you take us home?" Dad shook his head. "Sorry, guys. I have to take you back to work with me." Josh pleaded. "We're old enough to stay home alone." Andre joined him. "Yeah, Mom lets us stay home when she goes shopping." As soon as Josh closed the door, their dad accelerated away from the curb while they were still putting their seatbelts on. He kept his eye on the road as he quickly turned the corner. "I have a time-sensitive project I'm working on, and I don't have time to drop you off at home." Josh wasn't going to let him off that easy. "It'll only take a second." Dad looked back at him briefly and snapped his head back when another car honked. "If I had the time, I would, but I don't." They both whined at the same time in stereo. "But, Dad!" He didn't take his eyes off the road this time, but his voice grew louder and lower. "Don't push it, guys." Josh sat back in his seat and shook his head in disappointment. Andre nudged Josh with his elbow and winked. "Can we use the VR pod, Dad?" Dad looked back. "I don't know." "Oh, come on, we won't break it." Dad pulled onto the freeway and accelerated into traffic. "Yeah, I guess." Andre pumped a fist in triumph before he leaned over and whispered in Josh's ear, "When I meet Herobrine, it will be like I'm really there." Josh pulled away from him. "You used the VR pod last time. It's my turn." "You don't even want to meet Herobrine." "Yes, I do. I want to meet him more than you." "But it's my turn." "Boys!" Dad yelled from the front as he sped around his slow-moving car. Andre held up a fist and rested it on the open palm of his other hand. "Rock, paper, scissors?" Josh did the same. "Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Josh looked deeply into Andre's eyes, trying to gauge what he would do. Andre usually threw paper, but he knew that Josh would think that, but then he would want to trick him, so Josh threw scissors and tied with Andre's scissors. So Andre was not following his usual system. It would be harder to beat him if he couldn't anticipate what Andre was going to throw next. Okay, again on 3. 1, 2, 3. Josh threw scissors again and beat out Andre's paper. Ha! He knew Andre would throw paper that time. Andre gave him a serious look. Best 2 out of 3? Josh smiled. Bring it on. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. This time Josh was ready for him and threw rock, which beat Andre's scissors. As soon as their dad buzzed them into the lab where he worked, they ran for the virtual reality pod. No running, he yelled after them, but they were moving too fast to listen or to care. Every time they looked at the VR pod, it was as if it was their first time. It was a giant egg-shaped chamber with a chair inside that looked like it came from the dentist office. The only difference between this chair and a dentist chair was that this one was made out of black fabric to match the black interior of the pod. Andre pressed the large red button on the side of the VR pod and opened the chamber. The top of the chamber lifted up like a giant Easter egg splitting in half. With a flourish of his hand, he bowed and waved Josh inside. You won the first ride. Josh climbed in and fitted the virtual reality helmet over his head. The helmet extended out in front of his face for several inches and looked much heavier than it was. But it still had some weight to it. If the chair was not set up to always lean back, the helmet would have been too much strain on his neck. When Andre pushed the big red button to close the pod, if it weren't for the helmet replacing his vision with the video game world, Josh would have felt more than a little claustrophobic. He wasn't a fan of small, enclosed, dark spaces. The only exception was the pod. As soon as the pod closed, it sealed itself with a hiss and the screen inside the helmet faded up. In it, he could see the face of Andre, who looked at him through a webcam mounted on the computer that controlled the pod. Andre smiled. Comfy? Josh smiled back even though Andre couldn't see him. Doing better than you. Don't remind me. Andre's head lowered as he typed commands into the computer. I'm getting you set up on the server world that Craft Killer sent me. After a few moments, he stopped typing and looked back up. Tell Herobrine I said hi. And with that, the image flashed and was replaced with the blocky world of Minecraft. Only this world looked very different from any Minecraft world he'd ever been in. There was something wrong with this world. Alright, so that is the very first episode of my experimental new series of going through all the books that I wrote that are no longer available. I'm so sorry about that, but some things can't be helped. But hey, here it is now for free as fan fiction. Hey, alright. So that's the first section. So all I ask for before I post the next one thumbs up. That's simple. That's easy. It's going to get more expensive for you thumbs later on because I'm out to collect lots and lots of thumbs. So, but this one, very simple, 1 thumb. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.